I don't want to look back and ever have regrets. So I need to make some really hard decisions and find some of the weaker areas, the weaker links, the energy suckers, the people in my life that are sucking energy from me, and just remove it, and then move forward with a really clear path to grow. That's really one of my mantras for 2026 is to contract to expand.
Welcome back to ChiroX, where we talk business growth for, well, chiropractors. That was Dr. Austin Cohen, and if that clip doesn't hit home for you as a business owner, I don't know what will. We often talk on the show about more leads, more revenue, more locations, but today Austin and I take a different turn. We're talking about the comfort crisis and why your path to the next level of growth might actually mean doing less, but doing better. For those who don't know Austin, he is the founder of Corrective Chiropractic and Chiro 180. He's currently operating 13 locations, but as you just heard, he's in the season of contracting to expand. He's intentionally pruning the energy suckers to make room for what actually matters. In this episode, we dive deep into the enterprise value of your clinic, why high margins might actually be killing your retention and your exit price, the anagram of leadership, and how being a control freak creates a ceiling for your associates and your scale, the exact framework that Austin used to create seats in his business so that his team actually knows what it means to win and succeed, and so much more. Austin is a high-level endurance athlete. We're talking Navy SEALs, 100-mile races, and that grit has translated directly into how he builds his business. Whether you're at 1 million or 10 million, this conversation is going to challenge how you look at your team and your time. Let's dive in.
Equipment was also cheap back then, by the way, in 2009. People were trying to get rid of it. And the shoe store that I was taking over, because it was a shoe store that was for men who had sizes 16 plus. So it was a very niche market of the business that was going out of business. So I was able to acquire the release at low cost as well. So my belief system was like, you know what? I'm just going to go straight in and just start it myself. And, for me, like, I just know who I am. I was able to sign up 26 people, prepaid appointments before I even opened my doors, which was great. But what I was saying earlier, is that I've built a business in chiropractic, which is maybe 1 out of 100 clinics, if maybe 1 out of 50, let's say. I don't even know what the number is, but it's not common. And what I find is this: let's say you have a practice that's doing $60,000 a month of revenue, okay? And you have a chiropractor who works in that clinic making, let's say, $125,000 a year as the associate. After taxes, that associate has $100,000. Let's say their expenses are $60,000. That's $40,000 that they get savings accounts or whatever it is. Let's say it's even let's do $30,000 for easy math. Over 3 years, that's $90,000. What I always think in my brain is how great it could be for now associates to really start driving up their income and assets. So here's how they do it. It's like, I think real estate's a great game, by the way. I love real estate. I have a lot of property. I think it's an amazing way to build assets. Income is a fleeting thing. Assets always stay. They build value. So if a chiropractor who's an associate is making that money and they buy, let's say, a $300,000 income producing property after 3 years, and they do that once every 3 years, after 15 years, they'll have 5 pieces of property valued at $1.5 million. Now they have an asset over 15 years of $1.5 million, including probably the 401k that they got matched at that company they worked for. So this chiropractor, who was the owner, who had a practice, let's say doing $60,000 a month, the practice does $720,000. When that associate does leave, now the practice is not worth, maybe it's worth $400,000, something like that. So the owner's asset, not that great. The associate who worked there, who did pretty well, built assets for themselves. Now that's one example, but there's a lot of how like associates can actually do very well. And if you're also put in the right framework, like I know for us in our company, our doctors do very well. Why? They have a framework and they have a system to do very well. If I meet a chiropractor, an owner, now here's what I want owners to think about. If you have multi-unit and you're telling me your margins are 40, 50, or 60%, we've got a problem. I would bet you have high turnover of your clinic CEOs. My units that are not my primary clinic, of my clinic CEOs, those margins operate at 15 to 20%. Why? Because I want the money to go to my team. And that makes them better leaders. It helps them have impact, also taking most of the income anyways from that place. Everybody wins in that scenario, and they're going to make more in the framework there than they would being an owner, with also way less risk involved.
Why do you think docs have so much resistance to that? I'd be willing to bet, if I'm thinking about the listener or the person watching this right now, is that when you say the margins of like 10, 15%, I'd be willing to bet that scared a lot of people. Why do you think that's the correct model? And what would you say to somebody that has a lot of resistance around that?
Are you talking about the model of my other units that are 15 to 20%?
Yeah, just the model in the sense of like having smaller margins. Because I get it. Don't get me wrong. I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying. You're talking
Yeah.
about the enterprise value of the business. When you have smaller margins, you can grow it, and then ultimately it can be worth more down the road. But I think that a lot of doctors ultimately would have resistance around that. Like I'm just thinking about the listener, the watcher, thinking to themselves of like, they're probably at high margins, right? They're probably like, I don't know, maybe 50, 60%. And you're talking like 10 to 15. They're probably like, what? Like how? Like that's crazy. Well,
Yeah, I mean, for us, like, like think about it. So for us, there's other sources, right? So for me, corrective chiropractic is a way, I'm all about vertical integration. So for me, corrective chiropractic is a way for me that I've helped grow Chiro 180. We use Chiro 180 in every single corrective chiropractic. It's like our operating system for our practices. The better it does at corrective chiropractic, the more feedback we get at corrective, the better that Chiro 180 will grow and the better that those clients will grow. Also at corrective chiropractic, out of the 13 locations, I own 10 of the real estate, 10 of the clinic's real estate. So I also have that rental income that's coming into as well. What corrective chiropractic also does is like we have obviously corporate costs. So there's a percentage of the revenue from each clinic that will go directly to the corporate account that helps with overall growth. So there are other areas of opportunity for income in there. But I mean, at the end of the day, like I like team, I like retention, I like loyalty, I like leadership. I'm all about less headaches in my life now, not more. And so, yeah, if I'm operating at a 40% margin, if the clinic does $500,000, let's say a year in revenue, and I personally make 200,000 on that, and I'm not even in that clinic, and that doctor makes, let's say 80 to 100, they're going to be questioning why they're still there. And so I don't want that. I don't want to take advantage of anybody. Like I'm all about integrity, honesty, loyalty. That's the name of my game.
So you mentioned on a questionnaire that I had you fill out that you're an Enneagram 3, which basically means that you like to win, you like to drive the bus, you like to be a leader, you like that position, obviously. But I know you admitted earlier on that working harder was like what you thought was the answer to being able to build and grow a practice and just like seeing a lot of patients.
Yeah.
But what was the point where things shifted for you and you were able to realize that like you were the bottleneck and you had to get out of the way so that others could step in and continue to grow this business?
So really funny on my podcast. This was actually my episode today, which is really funny that you just asked this question. But you didn't even know. By the way, 15 minutes before we got on this call, I actually posted my episode, so you would have never known that. But man, Enneagram threes, you're right. They like to win. They're very competitive. They think that they can do everything better than everybody else. But that's also a problem because they are control freaks and they can justify why making certain comment like for here's a great example. When I was early in practice in 09 to 2014, where my office manager sat, behind her was these filing shelves, and then behind her was my adjusting bay. Every time the phone rang, I would listen to every phone call that came in. Not because I was thinking of how are we going to improve this process. I was thinking, how could I make that better? And how could we make quicker decisions? How could it was all control. And I justified it in my brain that no, I'm helping her out. I'm supporting her. And she knew it. And what that did is it created a level of distrust and a level of disloyalty to as well in the practice. And that's not a good place to be because trust is the foundation for every leader. And I think like Cialdini talks about this too as well, right? It's like the number one thing is like if you lose trust with your team, you can't build anything in your business if there's no trust there. And so that's the starting point. So for me, I had to get really, really, really good at stepping away, which was really uncomfortable for me to do. I had a belief system in my brain that if I didn't talk to my doctors every single day, then they wouldn't perceive value with me. The problem with that did is that created a ceiling for them on the level they can grow. The way they're going to grow is by me creating space for them. And I wasn't creating that space for them. I was all over them. If they would say like, oh, they'd say, oh man, I really need to reach out to this influencer and get them on one of our influencer programs. I'd be like, oh no, I'll do it for you. I'll get it done real quick. So that was who I was. That is a very unhealthy version of an Enneagram 3. And for anybody who's listening to this, you can go to like the website 9types.org and you can do a free assessment, the ready assessment. You can figure out what your Enneagram is. And then what for me, And by the way, this is before like Chat GPT and all these different platforms now that we can use on AI to like learn more about us as human beings, and how to define if we're in an unhealthy version of ourselves. But I was an unhealthy version of myself, man. And when I became a healthier version of myself, created freedom for my team, didn't control them, created space for them. That's when we created the winning recipe, man. And that's actually when we were able to scale this thing faster.
I was actually just pulled up the Enneagram because I was trying to remember. I did it once. I think I'm a 6-wing 3, which basically means I'm a skeptic / achiever, which seems accurate as to why I probably host a podcast show and ask a lot of questions. But, but yeah, I did it a long time ago. I did really enjoy getting some insights on that one. So, you have 6 on that note of team building, stepping away, giving them room to grow. I know that you have 6 pillars for building a winning culture. And there's one that stood out to me, and it was clarity creates confidence. Can you maybe speak on that topic specifically on like, what does that look like in terms of when you are trying to implement that within your team or to build that culture, or you're doing even like job descriptions or anything of that nature?
Every year I create a word. My word for 2025 was clarity. And it's interesting. So that was my theme of our company retreat. That has been the theme of our regional days we do in our company. That has been the themes of my level 10 meetings. That's been the theme of our internal retreats. It's been the theme of my financial meetings with my doctors. It's everywhere. Why? What does clarity create? It creates confidence, as you shared on here. And so what's interesting is clarity will show up way before confidence ever does, because you have to have the clarity in order to be confident in the job that you're doing. So for example, I have an office manager. That is her job, but that is not the roles that she operates under. And the book I always recommend everybody to read is the book Traction by Gino Wickman. And he talks a lot about this. And so there's different seats that people sit in, where for us, like, yeah, she's the office manager, but like one of her seats is patient experience. And another one of her seats, maybe we call it, like, I think it's like bank account, which is like somebody, and underneath bank account is they take payments, they swipe credit cards, they set up auto debits, like everything would fall underneath that. But that is very crystal clear on all the job responsibilities that fall underneath the role. There is such a lack of clarity, by the way, because here's the deal is like, it takes work to write out every single thing that you do on a daily basis. It takes a lot of work to build out this process in a company. Most people don't want to do the grind and the nitty gritty work, but the nitty gritty work is the stuff that moves things forward. And so like my recommendation is always to people is like, write out every single thing y'all do on a daily basis. Like take out the trash, look up insurance, answer phones, respond to text messages, follow up with leads, respond to Google reviews, post on Google when you're closed, like every single thing that happens. And then what you do is you then start categorizing them for the ones that have common themes. And then you create roles in that. So it's like her job is office manager, but underneath that, she has 6 seats that she sits in. And under each seat are very clearly defined roles of that seat. And with those defined roles are expectations of what success looks like with that role. And what also shows is if you're having trouble with those roles, then who do you reach out to find success in that role with SOPs built out in that document too as well. So you can look at the standard for how we do things in our office rather than me just saying, hey, Corey, that's not how we answer the phone. This is how we answer the phone. Well, Austin, I wasn't trained on that. I don't have like a script or anything for that. I don't even know what my KPI is for answering the phone. So there's systems for everything. And as we go into 2026, it's like there's such a great opportunity for people to build frameworks for their business. I mean, they could download probably this call, since it is live and it's going to get posted somewhere. They could probably download this and upload it to Chat GPT. Be like, I was so confused on that conversation with that guy, Austin Cohen. But can you build out the top 20 things he spoke about, or the top 12 things he spoke about in frameworks, and help me break it down month by month so I can begin to build this out for my business and convert my practice into a business over 2026, right? Like the resources are there. It's just about being resourcefulness. So yeah, man, that to me is creating clarity for my team to know exactly where they're going. Most people, by the way, they don't. And that shows up in every area, by the way. So for example, patients quit care. Why? Because they've lost clarity on where they're going in there. Like most doctors do a really good job day one, day two. They create clarity for the patient about what's wrong. Visit 12 shows up. Now the patient's lost. Like, why am I still coming here again? I feel better. I don't even know why I'm coming here anymore. Or they get to wellness care, and after 3 months of wellness care, the patient's thinking, why am I still coming here again? I feel good. Like, I've been coming here for a year now. I've been coming for 2 years. Why am I still coming? There's no clarity. There's got to be clarity. And that's why in our re-exam reports, it's always, here's where you were, here's where you are, and here's where we're going. This is exactly why in Chiro I put spinal health scores in there. It's a grading system. It shows patients' progress. And when they score a B or an A, they do not want to go back down to a D or an F. It's anchored in their brain. All these things were built for a reason. So, yeah.
I'm really glad you brought up the AI side of things, because as you were talking about understanding the roles and the seats and the job duties and all these things, is the whole time you're saying that, I'm thinking to myself, AI could streamline this process so quickly for somebody. Because like I think a perfect example of this would be, because I can already hear the listener thinking to themselves of like, oh, my team member wouldn't do it because they're not tech savvy or they're older or whatever the case might be. I bet you if you literally just like sat them down in front of a prompt and just told them like, all right, type out everything you do. Just tell everything you do. Just like type it all out in here, punch it in there, let it like respond to you. Oh, it's going to ask you some more questions, respond to those. And you just gave them like 10 minutes, just kind of going back and forth with the AI platform, telling them everything they did. And then give it the prompt that you just described of like, okay, what's the main job title? What are the seats? What is all like the things you need to do underneath it? It would just punch it all out for you. And you could have this knocked out in literally 10 minutes, I bet you, tops, with any one of your employees and positions. And now you have the SOP essentially for that position, right?
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you could, it would probably take you more than 10 minutes, by the way. My guess is to do it the right way, I bet it would take, because there are things that like, it does take time sometimes to think about it, but like, no, but you're right. Once you have like the roles down, dude, yes, it could take like 10 minutes to name the seat. What's the KPI? What does success and winning look like in that role? And then when you have your quarterly meetings, now, by the way, now we're building, this is frameworks, what we're talking about right now. So this is, dude, by the way, this is like my bread and butter. I love talking about this stuff. So that right there is roles and responsibilities, creating clarity around roles and responsibilities and people's jobs. Everybody wants that. Now, let's say you're to your point. Sally says, whoa, I didn't sign up for this. Then I would say to that office owner, I say, well, what are your core values? And then they're usually going to say, our core values are trust. They're going to say, actually, this is what they say. They say, hold on, let me go look it up real quick. And they go, it's trust, loyalty, family, and impact. Like, all right, well, what does that mean to you? Because to me, they're just words that have zero meaning. They're like, and they did it to check a box. If they even have core values, by the way, there's no meaning and intention behind it. There's no clarity around the core values. So then I have them go back first, just go to the core values first. Like this is the number one thing I work on with my coaching clients is like the first thing you should do is build your core values. But they have to have meaning, and you hire on core values, you fire on core values. Every system, process, and program is built on core values. So for example, we have 4 in our company. I'll share with you what they are. Like the word we used was health. And in health is fortify ourselves, fortify others, FOFO. If I say FOFO to any of the 30 people in my company, they say, oh yeah, that's fortify ourselves, fortify others. Austin gives everybody a stipend to go to the gym and take care of themselves. And it's very important that we all work out and take care of ourselves so we can take care of our patients. All 30 people would say that to you. And then you would say, well, what's the next one? PPI, purpose powered impact. Oh yeah. What we do is we are very intentional about our programs, our processes, clinical training, everything we do in corrective chiropractic, because we want to make sure that we're creating impact and everything we do has purpose behind it. Accept the challenge, set the standard. Hey, Austin comes up with crazy ideas sometimes and things that he wants to implement and things that he wants to do. But that's what our core values, accept the challenge, set the standard. We know it's going to come in, but we know there's a reward at the end of it. So for us, it all ties back to accept the challenge, set the standard. And then the last one is BT, better together. We know that when we work better as a team, you can go far by yourself, but you can go further together. So for us, we work as a team, and that's why we have regional days. That's why we have company retreats. That's why we do events together. Everything we do is about better together. So those are our 4 core values. but they're defined, they're clear, they're ingrained in our culture. So if I were to put together roles and seats and define it, what would happen? Everybody would say, well, this is part of our accept the challenge, set the standard core value. This is now what we're going to be doing is we're going to create clarity around your job, and we're going to create a path forward for you too as well. But we want you to know what success looks like in your role so you can be successful here. They're like, yeah, that sounds great. Accept the challenge, set the standard. Great. And that leads to PPI, purpose powered impact also.
What?
So there, do you hear that? Like, there's a language, right? Like, I've got a very clear language in our company. It didn't happen overnight, by the way. It took time to build. One of my core values back in the days was family. We are family. Worst core value ever. And the reason why is because I was doing it to check a box back in the days. Like, I built core values to check a box. And if you go to Netflix's core values, they actually have a page on culture. It's very interesting. They do a really good job of core values. But if you look at it, I remember thinking in my brain when I really like every year I do a lot of self-awareness work in December this time of year. And I started thinking about it when I had those core values up, and I said, do I have holiday dinners with my team? No. Do I have Thanksgiving with them? No. Do I go out for their birthdays? No. So they're not my family. Can I fire them? Yes. I can't fire my family. My family comes to holiday meals with me. I travel with my family. It's like we are a team, not a family. Very big like differentiators. And a lot of people say they're family, but it's like, are you really? Come on. So,
You're
anyways, but that's kind of breaking it down though, right? Those are frameworks, right? It's like core values we talked about first. Well, actually, no, we talked about roles, seats, and responsibilities first, and creating clarity in that. But in order to have that, to your point though, there's got to be defined core values that you build off of leading into that.
I once heard that core values should be something that isn't just like everyone would say it or common knowledge. Like a common one would be for core values is be like trustworthy. It's like, well, yeah, who doesn't want to be trustworthy? Like
For sure.
like does anybody have the core value of dishonest? Like no, that's insanity. Like so I think that's like one
Um,
good metric.
like, but you
But
hear like I hear the word like excellence a lot in core values.
exactly. Like who doesn't want to be excellent? Like I know I want to be really trash at what I do. Like that one doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
Um you're speaking to I like the family thing that you touched on. You remind me of a previous guest I had, Tony DeRamus, I think is how you say his last name. But he owns Sandstone. But he had this philosophy around essentially not family, but building an elite team. He looked at it more of like almost like building a sports team more than he did building a family. And I don't think either of those are wrong, right? Like I think it's just knowing which one is more in alignment with you and the people that you want to work with, right? Like maybe somebody does want that family culture, and that's totally fine. I'm not going to put judgment on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it works for some people, but I think the clarity that you're touching on is the most important part of like, do your core values actually were they actually thought out? Were they actually meaningful? And are they actually in alignment with really probably you, the owner, or at least the business at the end of the day?
Yeah, and those to me are fundamental thing. Here's the dude, if I reached out to a practice right now that was selling their practice, let's say I was reaching out to you and I said, Corey, I heard you're selling your practice. Can you tell me a little about it? Well, Austin, here are core values: fortify ourselves, fortify others, better together, PPI, accept the challenge, set the standard. Let me also show you like the defined seats of our company too as well, so you can see the roles that everybody sits in, and you can see the measurements that we have for those people. Now let me show you the practice scorecard too as well, so you can understand what that looks like as well. The value of your practice, by the way, is worth so much more to me than what I'm finding in today's world. And like you said earlier, man, a lot of it comes down to comfort. Very dangerous place for a lot of people to be. And that's where you've got to figure out that why of like, all right, for example, like I love doing hard things. I've done 100-mile run. I just recently did 40 miles through the Grand Canyon. I've done Navy SEAL training. I've done multiple Ironman. I've done a lot of different things that are very difficult, but I never quit. And most people quit during those things because their why's not big enough. And here's the question. When I was doing the Navy SEAL training, it was 24 hours. And basically what they did is they took Hell Week for civilians and they compacted it into like 24 hours. And their goal was to make you quit. I started with 6 people in my group and only 2 of us finished. Everybody else quit because they don't want you to quit, but they want to test your resiliency and they want to test like who you are as a person. And I remember it was 12 hours in, it was 8 o'clock at night. And they said to us, they said, hey guys, we're about to go down to the Pacific Ocean. We're basically going to do surf torture. This will be the hardest night of your life. If you come, we are not turning around. It's a 45-minute drive to get down there. And if you come with us, we're not turning around. If you want to quit, quit now. And obviously, somebody quit. Now, in my brain, I was justifying why I should quit, by the way. I was thinking in my brain, well, I've already done 12 hours of it, and I could leave now and be back in San Diego by like 9:30 and get some good sleep. Like, who am I here to prove anything to? That was the justification going through my brain. Then the real Austin came in and said, Austin, if your son was doing this right now and he called you and said, Dad, I'm 12 hours in, I've got 12 hours left, and I'm thinking about quitting, what should I do? I would tell him to stick it out. And how you do anything in life is how you do everything in life. And remember tomorrow. It's like, how do you feel on Monday morning knowing you quit? And that got me through that night. Why? My why was big. Because to me, being a leader for my family, for my community, for my team is one of the most important things. And if I'm not going to do those things, I'm going to quit early, then now I'm saying it's acceptable to my son to quit things early too as well. That's a horrible leader, right? Like our kid, do you have kids or no?
No, not yet.
Yeah. Like they're always watching. Always. Now they don't speak a lot about it, but they're always watching. Our team, like if you're a leader of your team and a leader of your company, your staff is watching. Every decision you make, every thought you do, every social media post you make, the words that you share, everything. They're always watching your actions, and those speak much louder than words do. And so getting really clear as a leader, if you're comfortable right now, that's actions that you're showing to your team. You don't maybe care about much their success. Now, if let's say you're at a point right now, you're thinking, all right, I like what Austin's saying. I need to get uncomfortable. And you start doing some of these things that we're talking about right now, like building out seats, building out roles, creating rewards, building KPIs, scorecards, defining core values. Your team now sees that as LFG. This guy's invested in me and he wants me to win, and he's passionate about my success. That's actions over words. So you've now taken this comfort crisis and you've now moved into getting back to the nitty gritty, but you've just showed your team you're a better leader. And that's what winners do.
Yeah, I admittedly snooped on some of your social platforms, and I did see that you've done some endurance events, which whenever I see that, I'll be honest, is like subconsciously, I already know the kind of framing that you probably have. You're rather a gritty ass person, or you have trauma, or maybe it's both. Is generally what I see for people that get in the endurance space. And I actually just this last weekend I did one, not to the degree that you did, but it was a 5K every hour for 6 hours. And it was trail running here in Austin, and ton of fun. But
5K every hour for 6 hours.
Yeah.
So 18 miles. That's an amazing, dude. That is awesome.
Took fourth place, I think it was, out of like 100 guys. But
those things, dude, but those things compound, right? I mean, that is now, so it's like David Goggins always talks about this, right? He's like, you just put a cookie in your cookie jar. You now in your mindset have a belief system of like, you can do a 5K every hour for 6 hours now. So it's like, what's next for Corey in 2026? Like, what is Corey going to do that's going to take him to the next stratosphere of his personal life that's going to translate into his professional life? And I'm a big believer in that. Like, to me, endurance races I think they're everything, because what it does, it tests you when you're thinking about quitting. And I've shared earlier, it's like how you do anything is how you do everything. Most people in business, when something gets hard, they quit. They have a teammate that they don't like working with, they fire them. They have a marketing thing that didn't work, they fire it. They have something that didn't work, they quit. Like, they try doing cash plans and raising their fees, and they had 3 people say no. Okay, they lower their fees now, or they sign up for insurance, they quit. It's like, no, that is why you do hard things and you do these challenges like what you just described. Because if you could have easily gotten to the fifth hour and thought, well, I've already done 15 miles. Like, who am I here to prove 18 to? I've already done 15. Why do I need to do 18? I could go to dinner with my wife right now. But you did it, dude. And that is the cookies to put in the cookie jar that create really good habits long-term too as well, by the way. I love that, man. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, man. Likewise. Like I said, I was snooping on some of the stuff you did as well. I mean, even the Grand Canyon thing, that's been high on my list, is doing rim to rim to rim. I know that'll be a suffer fest, which is kind of the reason I want to do it. But yeah,
it is a suffer fest.
I want to, as we start to like land this plane a little bit, I want to tap into some talk about franchising, because I respect the fact that you're open about like wins and losses. And I know you tried to franchise at one point, but ended up
Yeah.
pulling the plug on that. I'm curious as to like what went wrong, what was the misalignment, and why did you ultimately decide to go like the more corporate owned model?
Well, you nailed the word, by the way, alignment. Anytime I've ever done anything in my life that doesn't align with who I am as a person, it never wins. Like, that's why I shared earlier. For me, my game right now is all vertical integration. Like, Cairo and 80 is vertically integrated to me. Growth Summit, Adventure Summit, Empire Program, it all aligns with who I am as a person. What happened was, back in the days, in 2018, what we started doing was licensing out clinics. People would say to me, I want to own my own clinic, but like, I want to, they'd be like, but I want to call it Corrective Chiropractic and use all of your systems, but I want to own it myself. And being somebody who wanted to be liked in a 3 Enneagram, who wanted to feel valued, I said, absolutely. Completely, by the way, against my belief systems. So I said, okay. So then in 2022 or 2023, we had 5 of those. And my attorney at the time said, hey, we're at a point right now where you actually need to franchise these legally. You can't do this like license deal. Now, we didn't change really any of the structure. It was basically just moving from a license deal to a franchise deal. But like, I'm not somebody who wants to like control anybody's business. So like, although that's how the contracts read, they were kind of crazy. But at the end of the day, I did not align with that at all. And we had that franchise agreement in the FDD for 6 months. And then I was like, screw this. I'm not doing this whole like franchise thing anymore. We went through a bunch of different false beliefs, false narratives. People had these belief systems of me as a person when this started. Dude, it was like a whole culture shift for our company, by the way. And it was very toxic. And there was a lot of things that weren't true. And that happened. And so we shut that down. And now everything's corporate owned. And what's great is that I can now like there's not there's not other people, right? Like on the team that aren't fully all in. Everybody who's on our team right now is all in all the time. And what that does is that helps everybody win. It's very easy as chiropractor for us to have shiny object syndrome, dude. It is like we see a Facebook ad and we're like, oh, for $30,000 I can add this service in and I'll make $30,000 a month. If I just add shockwave or decompression or whatever it is, like I can make all this money. It's like that's not how it works. And for and I had that too as well, by the way. But chiropractors can get that very commonly. But if they just stick to the main thing of chiropractic, the philosophy of chiropractic, dude, they can build big practices. Like people want what we have. It just comes down to really good frameworks, really good systems, really good clarity. And you said earlier, like you do got to be good at sales. You have to be good at sales. So, yeah. Thank God we shut that down, though, man. That was like the best decision we ever made.
Well, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn.
Exactly right.
So you've scaled to, so what are you at? 13, 14?
Yeah, I'm at 13 locations right now. And I'm actually I'm gonna shut one down. Because I'm in the belief system right now of like contract to expand. So I'm looking at every area of my life right now. And I'm looking at where do I need to contract and remove that negative energy from in order to expand my life. I don't want to look back and ever have regrets. So I need to make some really hard decisions and find some of the weaker areas, the weaker links, the energy suckers, the people in my life that are sucking energy from me, and just remove it, and then move forward with a really clear path to grow. And that's really one of my mantras for 2026 is to contract to expand.
So love that. I have a quote that resonates with me. I think about it often, and it's do less, do better, and know why. And but as I land this plane and have a final question for you, you've seen the chiropractic industry, what feels like from like every angle, from clinics to software to marketing to, I think you said you're coaching as well. So if you were starting over today with 0 patients but all your current knowledge, what is the massive opportunity that chiropractic that you think everyone is in chiropractic that you think everyone is ignoring, but they're just true busy focusing like, how do I get more new patients or how do I get more new leads? Like, what do you think is the missing opportunity in the chiropractic industry that most people don't see?
And you're talking about like for strategies to grow their clinic.
Yeah, I mean, I just see you as somebody that has the vision from every angle of like the new AI softwares that are coming out and the EHRs and from the new marketing strategies to like how do I show up in search algorithms to building clinics and practices. Is like you just see it from so many different angles. I'm just curious as to like what are
Yeah.
the opportunities that Kairos don't see?
Yeah. So here's what I'll say is there's one thing that has stood the test of time that will always stand the test of time: relationships. And that is something that will never go away. There will always be another COVID. There will always be another recession. There will always be another everything. Like there will always be things, wars, viruses, it'll all come out. There's going to be hard times. But if you have really good relationships in your community, AI, all that, nothing can replace that, by the way. That is something that I am very proud of for us. When I first started practice in 2009, I went to every single thing that existed. I would go on Eventbrite and Facebook events, and if there was an event within a 3 mile radius of my practice, I was there. And what was interesting was about a month ago we had our Century Club event, which is for anybody who's been adjusted 100 visits or more, they get invited to the Century Club party that we host at a brewery, and we cater it in and everything. It's a really nice event, but you have to have had 100 visits or more to get invited to it. What was really cool though was a lot of the people who brought guests, they brought other people in the community who were looking to enhance their businesses. And it got me thinking about how we are now the leader of business relationships for Buckhead in the community. Like people come to us now to build relationships, to build community. Like they want what we have. They know the success that we've built. And now they're all thinking of their brand, like I got to get connected to that brand. And that is something that, and we still pour into these relationships and we still pour into these businesses from the lens of how can we help them? That is always our angle. It's like, how can we support other small businesses? And I've always felt like that for 16 years since I started day one. Nothing can replace that ever, because every single person listening to this right now is one relationship away from building a $1 million clinic. Every single person. I've been there, and it transformed my practice and it transformed my life. But it took some work to get to that point. So relationships to me are the most important thing.
Great advice, man. I love that. What's your plug? Where can people find you?
Man, my life lives on Instagram, dude. I love Instagram. That's my place right now. Maybe I'm old. I don't know. Like it used to be Facebook was for older people, and now it's like Instagram. My people who had my media team who does like all my marketing, they made me sign up for a TikTok account, by the way. So I've been posting a lot of shorts recently, and I'm actually posting one every day for over a year. I'm going to be posting one every day for over a year, if not longer. But they made me sign up for a TikTok account, and my kids saw it the other day, and they go, "Dad, you have a TikTok account, but you only have one follower." So if anybody's listening to this on TikTok, please give me a follow so my kids won't think I'm a loser. But it's funny, man. Yeah, I'm all Instagram, man. Dr. Austin Cohen, and if you want to stay connected to me on that Instagram page, Dr. Austin Cohen, you can sign up for my weekly newsletter. I send out every Friday, and every Tuesday, my podcast comes out called the Austin Cohen Podcast, which is all great, kind of great things to what you're doing too as well. You've interviewed some great friends of mine, Jesse Jacob, Savvy, some really good people. And so mine is similar, like just practical 15, 20-minute advice that's kind of happening in practice, man. So yeah, thanks for having me today, Corey, too. This was great. Sorry for the technology issue there, man. It's part of the process, though.
It's all good, man.